In just 4 simple and super easy steps, you can easily draw this kind of realistic looking hair. So let's get started. For today's video, I'm using a 5B pencil, but you can use any B grade pencil starting from 4B to even 10B. But you definitely need a B grade pencil because it's going to be darker and easy for you to blend. To give you an example, I'm going to start drawing a simple curly hair shape first like this. Now I'm going to mark where the highlights are going to be. Since this is a curly hair, this section is going to be in the highlights and this is going to be in the shadows, and again this section is going to be in the highlighted area. Now comes our first step, and that is to establish our hair structure, and that is why I'm using pencil strokes for the base layer itself. Even though this will be blended in the next step, I still want some kind of definition in my base layer itself. When it comes to the highlighted area, highlighted section, you don't have to cover everything with pencil strokes. You need to keep most of the areas white as possible. You also need to keep in mind that your pencil stroke should follow along the direction of the hair. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the lower highlighted area as well, and as for the middle section, it's going to be completely in the dark, so you don't have to worry about your pencil strokes. I'm just going to shade it in. Once I'm done with the base layer, I'm going to move on to the next step, and that is to blend everything. And to do that, I'm going to use a tissue paper for now. When it comes to blending, you should always start from the highlighted area and then move on to the darker areas and never do the opposite. This way you can preserve those highlights. Once I'm done blending, I'm going to keep repeating these steps again and again, that is to establish the hair strands first and then blending them out until I'm satisfied with the intensity. Also keep in mind, even when you blend everything out, you need to go along the direction of the pencil strokes. If you go along the opposite direction of them, you will lose all the texture. I also showed you how you can use these graphite pencils to draw realistic looking skin, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description box down below. And also I shared with you all my techniques of how to draw realistic looking eye, and I'll leave a link for that video in the description as well, so feel free to check that out. Once I'm done with the layers, I'm going to move on to the third step, and that is to draw the highlights. And to do that, I'm going to use a stick eraser, which is the most important tool that you need to have when it comes to graphite pencils. So if you don't have them, go buy them. Now using these stick eraser, I'm going to erase some of those highlights, and as you can see, I'm going along the direction of the hair, and that is the most important thing you need to keep in mind. You should always go in the direction of the hair. I've always told you that the highlights and shadows are going to give the object its shape, and the hair is no exception for that. Where you place your brightest highlights will define the shape of the hair, so if you're using a reference image, then take a note of everything and then do your highlights. Now I'm going to blend them out with a tissue paper just to make them look softer, and then I'll repeat the steps again. You might be thinking, why am I doing everything again and again on a repeat mode? Well, let me explain you. When you draw everything in layers, it's going to create that intensity, it's going to create that depth. You should never finish your drawing in just 1 or 2 layers. Keep on layering, keep on doing the same things again and again until you're satisfied with the intensity. Now with a very sharp pencil, I'm going to draw the hair strands again like I did in the first step, and I'm doing this now because the highlights are currently looking like they're out of place. They are not well blended into the hair, and they do not look like the highlights in hair. They're just kind of like some lighter areas, and I don't want that. I want them to be blended within the hair structure, and that's why I'm doing it now. Now for the final step, I'm going to draw the flyover hair, and this is a very important step because the hair is not one simple structure. It's actually made up of lots of individual strands, so not all of them is going to stay in place. They will move, they will have lots of movement, they will have lots of flow, and that's why we have lots of flyover hair. And when you add all those flyover hair, it's going to make your drawing look much more natural. In some areas, I'm also using a H pencil for the flyover hair because it's much more harder, much more lighter, and you can get very thin strokes. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the stick eraser as well. This is what it looks like in the end, and just like I told you, it only takes 4 steps and a lot of repetition to achieve this result. Now let's see how this works in an actual drawing like this one. I did a very rough outline, and I'm going to start with the first step, and that is to establish all the hair strands. Since this is the whole head I'm going to draw right now, I'm going to split everything into sections. For example, I'm going to draw only the top part for now, and then I'll move on to the braids and then to the free hair. Now to blend everything, I'm using a blending stump just because I thought it would be convenient to do that, but you can still use a tissue paper, or you can also use a cotton bud if you feel comfortable with it. Once I'm done blending, I'm going to repeat these 2 steps again and again until I'm satisfied with the intensity, and then I'll move on to the highlights just like I showed you. Now I'm done with that, I'm going to move on to the braids, and as I told you, I'm going along the direction of the hair. Since the hair is braided, all the sections will have different kind of flow to them, so you need to understand that from your reference image and then mimic all your pencil strokes. Now in the free flowing hair, now for the open hair, I think it had lots of highlights in them, and that was not only because the hair was super shiny, but also because the hair was lighter in so many areas. I think the hair was bleached and that's why it had lots of highlights. So you need to understand that as well. Not every highlight is going to be because of the shininess of the hair. Some highlights are also going to be because of the nature of the hair. So you need to understand everything from your reference image. Now for the final step, I'm going to add all the flyover hairs using the stick eraser and also the pencil as well. And as I told you, if I don't do this, it's not going to look natural. And that's it for today. I really hope that you found this video useful. If you want to share your artworks with me, you can simply tag me on Instagram, and I'll leave links to all of my social media in the description box down below, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye everybody, take care, have a wonderful day.